This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masteringencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode. Hey, gang. Welcome to another Tuesday event, Administrators Mastering Encompass. My name is Larry Bailey. Michael Kelleher is in the house. That's unusual. How you doing, Mike? We still have to catch up. Hey, welcome. So, sorry, name drop your mic there. But anyway, it was just surprising to hear you. There you are. Hey, so listen, we meet every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. on Thursday. And we talk all things Encompass, all things mortgage related. The idea is if you're in the mortgage industry, head over to mortgage.community, grab a free account. Everybody's welcome regardless of who you work for, because more voices is better. That's the reality. So today's topic is all about underwriting in Encompass like a master. I've got some ideas that I tend to like to share with folks on underwriting, mostly because I held that position for a little while. It's a position I found that a lot of folks put a ton of pressure on, and I still watch as Mortgage Workflow Partners. We do these things, these workflow reviews, and so I sit with every single department. And when I get to the underwriters, everything is always the same. They use a scratch pad. And by the way, if anybody's an underwriter and you want to talk about what you're doing, I'd love to have you up on stage. Let me know if you're comfortable talking. You don't have to be on video. You can just be on audio if you want. But the idea is if you're underwriting, the things that are always happening, and tell me if you're an underwriter listening to this, you've got a scratch pad on your desk, and it's usually a yellow pad, and you're usually making notes by hand as you're underwriting a file. And what you'll do is you'll go through the Encompass e-folder. You may be like opening and closing each document. We're going to talk about that. But if you're not, you're still going through each document and you're figuring out which conditions you want to have in the file. And then you go over and you go into the conditions tab and you add the condition as you go and you figure out what you want on the initial this is just the initial underwrite, of course. And so if you're doing that, I understand, but there's such a better way. So that's the whole point of this conversation today. For those that are just joining, we're talking about underwriting and Encompass like a master. And anybody I work with on the underwriting side, my heart goes out to them when I watch some of the painful daily things that happen using a lot of the steps I just explained. So. If anybody's an underwriter who just joined, I'd love to have you join the conversation. If not, I understand. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen and see if I cannot break Encompass here. And I'm going to bring open the e-folder because that's all that really matters. And cool. So let's go ahead and share the screen. If you're watching this or listening to this, I should say, on replay, or you are listening to this on podcast, thank you very much. But you definitely want to get over to mortgage.community and watch the whole thing on screen, because we're going to go through using something called an underwriting comparison. I'm going to be talking about truly automated conditions. We're going to talk about condition sets, enhanced conditions, what that looks like, plugins, whether or not they're a good idea or not to fill in field data at the condition level, using Document Manager, this concept of waiving conditions versus clearing conditions versus deleting conditions versus not even adding the conditions in the first place. And then notes, like how I started, like where do people put notes? So anybody in the call, just curious, does anybody on the call use an underwriting comparison input form? And an underwriting comparison input form is one of those input forms. Let me see if I can bring this over, and I'll throw this over on screen here without wasting your time and looking for something. So an underwriting comparison form, I'm not the first one to use these, but I use them every chance I get. And the underwriting comparison is the one that I like to use. is up on screen, and Luba takes a snapshot. It's cool. So basically the one I like to use over the years, I've kind of morphed this, and this is an existing example of what we use. And so I don't like these copy buttons, truthfully, but sometimes clients love them because they like to copy over like data, like that kind of a thing. But what I really like to do is copy all. And the reason why I like to copy all is because I want to make sure that at the time that the underwriter last saw this loan, they keep all of these important fields in their own custom spot. And then I also added this little doohickey up here to make sure that we know who clicked on the copy all. And the reason why this is important, there's not a standard input form for this, Angie. This is custom. There is one that comes out of the Jumpstart package from ICE. Like you can see, this one was created in 2017. I created them a lot earlier than that. I used them back in 2014 with secondary. And so, who knows what came first, but I've been using these for a very, very long time. And what I found is that from an underwriter, sorry guys, I don't know why I just hit my keyboard. When I want an underwriter to look at, I know everything's going to break. I know. That's a secondary comparison thing I'm working on. Anyway, what I found is that underwriters don't really trust what happens to the loan after it leaves their desk. And I subscribe to that. As an underwriter, I don't know what happened to that loan after it leaves my desk. And God help you if it comes back to me. I don't want to have to go through the whole file figuring out what changed. Like, that's not a good use of time. It's not a good use of energy. And as an administrator, Rob's laughing at me. As an administrator, I want to write rules because guess what? If the loan amount changes, right? So if I don't know if I can change it, I locked it out here, but if the loan amount changes, right? Let's say somebody comes up and they think they're being cute and they go in and they change the loan amount on this file to something different because, it's not 350,000, it's 351,000 because they need an extra grand. If that changes, and we go back to the underwriter comparison, now we've got a loan amount change, we've got an LTV change, we've got verified assets and reserves. Like it's a cascade. Candace, thank you. I'm glad you like the log. I definitely encourage you to use logs all over the place. So yeah, definitely. I'm glad I could inspire you. Hopefully others too. So the idea is I can then use a single field to represent all of the changes and not let a clear to close happen as a field data entry rule or a milestone completion rule. Or how many times has it happened where a file went to closing and the closer changes something that the underwriter hasn't cleared yet? Yeah, I guess that's never happened, right? Of course it happens. So this is one of those ways you can deal with it. This is extraordinarily helpful for every underwriter. Everybody on this call who's an administrator knows how to build this. You can build it yourself. If this helps inspire you to build it, awesome. Definitely do it. Any questions on this before I move on? I'm going to go to automatic conditions or automated conditions next, and then condition sets. So keep the chats coming. If anybody wants to come up on stage and ask any questions, again, you don't have to be on video. You can just do audio if you want. So automated conditions have been around for a long time, right? If you go into settings, it was always a joke about automated conditions. It was never really automated conditions, right? This automated conditions just built an automated condition set. So it takes 4 clicks and it takes an underwriter to be convinced that there's value in adding automated conditions to their workflow. And this kind of gets into the conversation of do your underwriter subscribe to the idea of waiving and clearing conditions, or did they believe in deleting conditions or not even having the condition there in the first place? And this is really important, gang, because if your underwriters who are reviewing those documents believe that they looked at the pay stub and they did their income calc, maybe even on an income calc worksheet, and they believe they have enough income in that file to qualify, so they don't add the condition that they've cleared, how do you know they did it? And this is a real question. So back when, if you guys know Chris Chan, he's now head guy over at ICE. So Chris and I met at a client. He was my client for Ellie Mae back in 2012. And the idea is that he had the company he was working for at the time he had files closing without an appraisal. And I walked in, it was one of the first on-sites I did because they're literally like in Manhattan at the time and I'm in South Jersey. So I went to the underwriter and I'm looking at them and I'm like, how did you clear a file to close without an appraisal? He goes, I thought I did it. And I'm like, but you don't have the condition in the file to clear it. How do you know you cleared it? He goes, oh, I had it on my notes. I'm not kidding, gang. Like, this is reality and it's happening right now. Somebody works at a company somewhere right now that the underwriter says, according to my notes, I cleared the condition, but it's not in Encompass. And honestly, it's like, there's a better way, right? So the idea is when you get into automated conditions, if you're using enhanced conditions like you see on screen, if you're using enhanced conditions, this is huge because you can actually make sure that if the loan in this particular case is a cash out refinance, you can actually add into the underwriting conditions if you're using Candace, send her your login so she can sign up the link quickly and join. Oh, am I able to share this live link with my underwriters? I have one who would like, yeah. So what you're going to do is go to your, hopefully you're doing this, Candace, but because I'm seeing some people are signing up. Share your link. They can join immediately and then they can come right into it. So if you need any more help, Candace, let me know. I'll help you. But if you go, the mortgage.community up at the top right where your face is, click that and then click add. You should have a personal link that you can have them add to. If you added more people, Candace, no, I'm kidding. So anyway, the point is here that with enhanced conditions, you can do truly automated conditions, but this only works if your underwriters are going to be okay with conditions automatically going into your loan file that they have to clear. So this kind of gets into condition sets. A lot of us have built condition sets over the years. Administratively, we're used to this kind of function where we come in and we say, okay, well, if it's all conditions, add those. And then if it's assets, add these, right? I see this all the time. And like, if it's insurance, okay, well, add this. And then you click add and then boom, they're in there. The reality is every file needs some kind of insurance. Every file needs some type of ability to repay condition. Sometimes that's income, sometimes that's DSR calculation, sometimes that's asset verification, whatever it is. You have the ability to control those conditions. And so there's no reason why they shouldn't be marked in the file that they were reviewed and they were cleared or waived. And I want a thumbprint on that. So Luba says, our underwriters were not happy with that, but we are getting used to automatic conditions. It's a change, gang. And I'm telling you right now, when you talk to underwriters about, hey, listen, I'm going to put 60 things on here that I want you to do. They're like, yeah, but I'm already looking at the documents. Like, I don't need that condition. To which I say, dude, like, I need to verify, like, my investors need to verify that you actually did this work. And that's why it's got to be in the e-folder. And that's why this topic of underwriting is really, really important. I want the underwriter to come in and I want them to come in and verify the hazard insurance. And I want that document to already exist. And I want them to review it. And then I want them to clear it. That's what I want them to do. So Kimberly, the idea of a checklist is totally there. So Amanda, assuming this works with enhanced conditions, sorry. Yeah, what you're seeing on screen is enhanced conditions. And this is one of the things I've been talking about all year, task-based workflows and enhanced conditions. So this is enhanced conditions. It's the only way natively to enter conditions automatically into your loan file based upon conditions in the file. You can use third-party plugins, but those are standard conditions, and that's like old tech. Use the new native tech. All you got to do is move to enhanced conditions. All you got to do. And it's free. And you're going to have to do it anyway, because you're going to want to do it when you go to Encompass on the web, which we're all going there. So you might as well learn how to do it, right? That's why we do these things. So I'm going to talk about the checklist thing more, Kimberly, before we end up here. So So Kirsten says, excuse me, we do not allow them to delete conditions, but unfortunately we cannot block that without standard conditions. So, yeah, I don't know about that, but it's certainly something I would tell you, so Kirsten, have you said, like you're saying, like you can't get rid of the delete, and we know this problem, like if you're allowed to add a condition, you can't stop them from deleting, but you can require a condition have a status of at a milestone, right? It's a field. So Kirsten, I would have you explore the idea of milestone completion or field data entry, looking for a specific condition as a test. And I don't know what that is, but there's something in there to explore more. Amanda says impossible to stop getting them to use Notepad. Well, you can get them to use something that you want if you give them value. And so a lot of what I do when I go through helping folks is to understand the value of making a change. And that's kind of where, I'll go into the next topic, which is plugins to fill in field data. A lot of folks wanted to fill in, like in here, homeowner's policy must be blah, 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 blah. And they wanted to add in specific language to the file. This happens a lot with like EMDs. So they wanted to say like EMD to equal whatever's in the file. My problem with these third-party plugins was specific to the condition descriptions, like this guy. So what a lot of folks will do is if they can afford it, they'll get third-party plugins to go through and grab the value from a field and map it into here. The problem is once the condition exists, making sure that the information on the condition is still correct, which goes out to your borrowers and their attorneys, is really important to make sure it gets right. So I'm not one for automation in here. Again, I'm an old dog, and I'm an advocate for making sure that underwriters are self-sufficient and self-aware of what needs to be added. Jennifer Morgan just joined. Is that the underwriter you're looking for, Candace? Jennifer? Hopefully. So hopefully they're joining. Anyway, I want to just kind of bring this up again about that. So yeah, Heather, yeah, she's joined. I don't know if she's in the meeting, but hopefully she's Danielle, she's your underwriter, sorry. So Kirsten says, okay, Larry, that's a good idea. Converting to enhanced conditions is a goal for next year, but I need to buy in from executive management. So what I would say, Kirsten, and for everybody, for buy-in, go to your post-closing team and go to your investor conditions. And if you're delivering files with no investor conditions, like they're getting bought in a day, awesome. I'd love to talk more to you. Chances are you're getting stipped from your investors, and you can make sure that you turn those stips into underwriting conditions automatically. Sell that to your executive team. Tell them how much money you're going to save them by not having these conditions end up in post-closing. I think that they'll like that conversation. Kimberly says, for the underwriter comparison screen, if a field is adjusted or changed, can we set alerts to go out? So you don't want to set an alert for the field change. What you want to do is set an alert for this changes. So what I always suggest is putting that field at the top of every other summary form so that everybody can see the underwriting comparison has had changes, and we need the underwriter to go look at this file before it can continue forward. So you can certainly send out alerts, but truthfully, I make sure that it's constructive notice. I put that field on everybody, like processor, secondary, management, things like that, from a pipeline view or a dashboard or from the input form at the very least. But you can certainly use that field up here as your means for trigger, not all these individuals, because everything rolls up. I believe in building cascades so that you can be efficient. Yeah, you're welcome, Kimberly. I'm glad you see value in it. Try it out. Let me know how it works. All right. So I talked about plugins. All right, let's get to document management. So if you haven't seen this before, let me know what you think. If you have seen this before, sorry, but it's important to talk about again. So if you go into a file, there it goes. This is the initial underwrite, and your underwriter does this. Maybe they have like a stack, right? And maybe they have a stack. And they come in and they open up the 1003 and they open up the compliance report, and then they open up this and then they close it, and they open and they close. Initial underwrites, please have them use the file manager, pretty please. Single click, review, right? Single click, review, single click, review. And you can put the stack here. If you want to use a stack, it's totally cool. Use a stack, all good. Please use that for your initial underwrites. Now you might say, but Larry, well wait, how do I do the conditions at the same time? Okay, well, if you're ready for that one, go to Document Manager. Now in Document Manager, this is good for the resubmissions, and I'll tell you why here as soon as this thing loads up. So the initial submissions is tough with Document Manager because you're focusing in on the conditions. Now you can take this UI and you can kind of play with it a little bit. You can't do, you can do this here, and you come up and do a stack just like we saw, and you can come in here. Some people have trouble with this. This is why I don't really like heavily go into it, but you can come in and you can create a condition off of, as you're looking at the document, you can come over here and create a condition. Notice there's no condition there, but I'm highlighting the 1003 initial. And if I want to create a condition off of here, I know this is the wrong one, right? But let's just pretend it's this one. I can click add, and that will automatically add in the condition here. And then when I come over into this FHA, I can drag this condition down to the FHA and release it. So now if I go into the FHA condition, I've tied the document or associated the document to the condition all at the same time up here, and I can status the document if that's your thing, or I can status the condition, which is really what we're talking about. So the downside here is on the Document Manager, I can't get into the individual files. In here, I would simply click this. So if I were to go into the File Manager, and I were to go to add in an initial file into that 1003, if I were to go back into the Document Manager and look at that 1003, right? This will take a second to load. But if I go back in here and I look at that 1003 document, I will now see both files because they're both marked as current version, and I'll see the condition that's associated with the document. I know I just said a complete mouthful, but watch what happens. I go into the 1003 document, and I can see the FHA. Let's see, there it goes. So I can see the condition, I can see the files, I can see the document details. So if I just wanted to see this file, or if I just want to see that file, I can do that in here. Again, I can update the condition, I look at it, I can add notes if I want. Adds up in here. I can add it as if I wanted to come in and make it an external comment, which travels with the file. I can do my annotations. If you don't know anything about annotations, you should learn about those. You can also come over here and look at the original if that was important, right? One of the things that, again, you can't do in here because it's not intended is if I go in, I have to go into the Files tab, and then I can go in and edit the file. So let's say this, and this, I wanted to get out of this file because it doesn't belong in that document. You can do that work in here, but truthfully, this is like high level skill sets for people understanding how to use it. It's just, I don't find a lot of underwriters either are aware or understand how to use the Document Manager as compared to the File Manager, as compared to the Documents tab and Conditions tab. So Kimberly asks, from that screen, the File Manager, is there a way to check off reviewed status so our processors know we've reviewed the documents that were in the file initially, or can we only do that from the document folder? So in the File Manager, you can come over and highlight this. It'll give you the image, but there's no status because that's not what this is for. This was forwarded to, if we go back a second ago, right, we had this up here. This was to understand how to manage your files into the documents they belong to. That's the intended use for this interface. So if you want to manage the document, you can manage it individually to the file, or you can manage it in the file manager. But if you want to manage the document status and you want to manage the condition associated at the same time, that's Document Manager. Any questions on that? Anybody want me to, again, I try to keep this to a half an hour. These things are on replay, so you can kind of revisit it again over and over again. Again, you can do your condition stacks down here if you want. You can do your stacking order up here if you want. These are your types right now. So we've got again, this is enhanced, right? So there's condition types in enhanced that don't exist in standard. So if you're not used to seeing that, it's not you, it's because we're using enhanced. Last thing I wanted to bring up then, if there's no questions, is the notes, how I started. I want to end with notes. So if you've got a third-party plugin that allows you to do non-modal pop-outs, great. If you don't, and you want to create a non-modal plugin, you can take the non-modal, how to build your first plugin over on the community. It's $1,000. It teaches you the insides and outsides of how to build a plugin, and you walk away with this non-modal plugin. Or you can just go get it. Like, I don't know if Kenzie May has it for free or ATI has it for free or whatever. But my point is, if you've got the ability to have a non-modal plugin for notes, for underwriting notes exclusively, think about if this was floating over on the side and your underwriter could take notes, please do that. Please do that. I don't have a good example for you in this environment, but it's a simple button on a custom input form that says notes. And it's a spot for your underwriter to put their notes that's only accessible to the underwriter in terms of editability in a persona. So Luba says they have one for each department, but is it floating, Luba, or is it on an input form? I don't remember it's floating. So it's not on a summary form. It's got to be floating. Yeah, so in Luba's case, she says it's attached, meaning it's on the input form, but if you click something, it turns into a floating panel. That's what you want. As an underwriter, you want to be able to be flexible, move things around, see multiple things at once, and using non-modal plugins to open up documents, input forms, and notes, you're going to see a big pickup in your underwriters. Last thing I'll say is underwriting. Honestly, you got to get 3 monitors. You got to figure out a way for the budget. It's another $100 maybe for the monitor, maybe something for the technology to give you 3 monitors. But the reason why I always say 3 is because I want one for my notes and other calculation sheets. I want one for my Encompass, and I want one for the e-folder. That's the way it works. And if you've never underwritten on 3 monitors and you do underwrite in 3 monitors, you get what I'm saying. So everybody out there who's got underwriters, please give them 3 monitors. You'll see an immediate pickup in productivity. Yeah, I mean, so check it out. Luba, you're a maniac. Luba uses 4 at home, and it's hard to go down to 3 at the office. I'm at 2. I went down to 2. I was at 3 forever, and I found it to be distracting because I didn't know where to look. So I do all my work on my one screen here, and I do other stuff on my laptop. All right, now we're just bragging. Like Rob says he's got 5. Anybody got 6? Anyway. You guys are great. I love doing these things, and I love having an audience here to try to get value to you guys. I don't know what alive or dead means, Jody. What are you doing? You threatening people again? Yeah, listen, I agree with you. Like monitors. You. I don't know, man. What you got? I'm going to say monitors that you're actively using in your daily workflow. That kind of thing. Yeah, you know what, Kevin? I've seen people use the big 55s, and I get lost. Like I don't remember who it was, but somebody's like, "Yeah, I use a 48-inch, and I have different windows, and it all works for me." I'm like, "Dude, that's too much." Anyway, today's been all about underwriting, right? How to underwrite like a master in Encompass. I hope something in here helps you and helps your company, helps your underwriters. The third screen is your pad of paper, Kimberly. That's my point. The third screen is your notes, and that's where you can type. And now the good news is all your notes are electronic, and everybody can see your notes, including you. 3 years down the road, some loan gets bought back, and you're like, why the hell did I make that calculation? You got your notes in the file in Encompass, which is your system of record. Exactly. Yeah, conversation log, maybe, Angie. I'm more interested in my own notes to myself as I'm underwriting the file, because I need to make sense as an underwriter if that loan ever comes back. And that's what underwriting is all about. It's worrying about this file for the next 30 years. Like, that's legit. So some notes on here. Luba says, getting one of those electronic notepads. Nah, get it in Encompass. You want it in Encompass. In Encompass. Kevin says, seen some rotate the screen. Yeah, you could do a vertical. You could you could rotate it 90 degrees and make it bigger. I don't know. Everybody's unique. Any last messages? Any last things anybody want to talk about? Questions on underwriting here? One underwriter uses the dictate function in Outlook. I'm okay with that as long as it turns into text and that text gets into the loan file. I'm cool with that. Yeah, I do that. I do that a lot. I dictate a lot. So no arguments there. Hey, listen, we've got the rest of the year lined up, really for the next 5 weeks. So if there's topics, I know Candace, you said you want to do something with, what the hell was it? You want to do something with, what the heck are we just talking about? I'm getting old. Milestones. You want to talk about milestones again? So yeah, if you want to throw together a milestone event, we could do a milestone event on the fly. Let me know when you want to do it. So, gang, thanks for doing this. Have a great day, and let me know how you make out. Keep me updated on the community, okay? Everybody take care. Enjoy. Good luck for the rest of your day. See you now. Bye-bye.